snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys! So I am here today to do a joint review, and the review that I'm going to be doing today is for the first two books in the Fitz and the Fool trilogy. The first one is Fool's Assassin and the next one is called Fool's Quest, which I don't actually have a physical hardback edition of yet. I will be buying it soon because I listened to it on audio, so I don't own it yet, but I have read it. So, starting off with Fool's Assassin, this is such a good book. I love Fool's Fate by Robin Hobb. Like, that's my favourite book ever. But this book was so close to overtaking that book. It's basically amazing. This book picks up after the ending of Fool's Fate, where a lot of stuff goes on. I don't want to give any of it away because it is very, very sad, very dramatic, very emotional. But this one picks up again following the main character of Fitz. We pick up his story when he's had a good few years. Again, he gets involved in a big adventure due to what happens with him and his partner, and the way that their relationship has progressed and the way that their family is progressing. He gets involved in a big adventure, and this book is mostly set in one place, which is quite different to a lot of the other books. We don't really travel around that much in this book. We mostly stay at Withywood, which is the home of Fitz at this point. And I really enjoyed this book because it was probably the most surprising and action-packed of all the Robin Hobb books I've read. A lot of her books, they take a very long time to build up to anything, which is fine because I love that and I think she does it perfectly. But this book had so many twists and so many turns that I really was not anticipating, could not have predicted. It was phenomenal. Robin Hobb is just an exceptional writer. I absolutely adored meeting new characters in this one. Bee is a fantastic character who we meet in this one. She's just so inquisitive and fun and bizarre and a little bit peculiar, and she's a bit of an enigma to most of the other characters, and I loved meeting her. She was fabulous, and she was another major character in this, so I really enjoyed that we didn't just have Fitz in this one, we also had a major character in the character of Bee. I thought this was exceptionally good. The whole way through I was loving it, and then we got to the last, 50, 100 pages, and my goodness, my head was nearly blown off. It was so good. Like, it was insane. So much stuff happens at the ending of this book that no words. Literally no words could sum this up. It is incredible and terrifying and tragic, and there's so many beautiful moments in this as well, though. It's like such a cross between the tragedy and the horrors of this time in Fitz's life, but also just the really beautiful, wonderful time in his life. And I love sort of seeing both sides of that and seeing how Fitz dealt with things. It's a really emotionally charged book, probably her most emotionally charged book in terms of shock factor, and it hit me in the gut quite a few times, and I was amazed and in love with it. As always, the writing in this is once again fantastic. We learn more about the magics of this world. By this point we kind of have a bit of an idea about what the wit and the skill are, but we don't really know anything much about white prophets, and this book and the later books in the series definitely deal with that a lot more, which I really enjoyed. We have a much smaller sort of set for this one, but that doesn't mean that we've got any smaller set of characters. We do see returning characters from the previous books and previous trilogies, and I loved that any sort of cameos are always really welcome in my mind because they're always very fun, and it means that we get to see old characters kind of coming into the plot and the fray again and getting involved, and I love that so much. I think the fact that we have had so long with these characters now, this is the 7th book with Fitz in, so it's a pretty long commitment of like trying to build up these characters, and I think she just does a fantastic job of making you care. I think Fitz is probably one of the characters in fantasy who I care the most about and I worry over more than anyone else, because he is such a troubled character. He's been through so much stuff, and we basically follow him throughout all of his life at this point because he's getting old. He may be a pretty awesome character, but he's definitely getting on by the point of these books. And I cannot help but feel for him and feel for all the tragedies and losses that he's had in his life. He really has had a kind of really rough time of it, and it only continues as these stories go on. Robin Hobb is not very nice to her characters. She's definitely not afraid to do horrible things or make them go through tragic situations, and I think you definitely see that in all of her work, but particularly the ending of this book. Like, what on earth, the ending of this book. With all of that said, of course, I absolutely adore her pacing, her writing style. I felt like this was dramatic, it was intense, it was fantastic, and I, of course, gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It's basically my second favourite book. It's so good, guys, so incredibly good. If you haven't picked up Robin Hobb, definitely start right at the beginning with Assassin's Apprentice and follow the story through, otherwise you'll be massively spoiled in these books. But I adored it. It was fabulous, and I could not recommend this series more highly if you've read the other Fitz books. Moving on then to Fool's Quest, which I'm not going to give you guys much detail about, other than to say that it is a continuation of where this book leaves off, and it's just as fabulous. I really enjoyed this one. I do think this one is a bit slower, and we did this as a buddy read, myself and Sam and Mercedes, whose channels I'll link below. We did this as a buddy read, and we all really enjoyed both of the books, but we all agreed that the second book was nowhere near as fast-paced. It was actually quite a slow book in terms of Robin Hobb, so although a lot of her writing is quite paced and slow, this one was very slow. It had a lot of conversations between different characters, which was really interesting, but it did mean that the pacing of the plot wasn't moving as quickly as you might expect, particularly after how quickly the last book was. But I found this one exceptional as well. I mean, it wasn't quite as high a 5 stars as Fool's Fate and Fool's Assassin, but it was still utterly fantastic, and the events that happen in this book seem very important in the overall story, and I do think that we get more of a crossover with previous characters in this book too, which I really enjoyed. And seeing more of Fitz on his adventure is always very fun because he's a great character to follow. The second book doesn't have as much involvement from our other main character, which is a bit of a shame, but that's due to events of the previous book. And I think that it's just such a fun series, such an incredible series, and such a heart-wrenching series that you should all read it. It's so good. So, as I say, I think this is just a continuation. It's fantastic, but it's not quite as good as the first book, in my opinion. The first book just pow, everything was happening. It was crazy. The second book was more of a step back and what are we going to do about the crazy that's just happened. So I really loved them both. I thought they were both excellent, and I gave the second one a 5 out of 5 stars as well, but I did prefer book number 1. So do let me know your thoughts in the comments if you've read any of the Robin Hobb books, or if you're looking forward to these ones, or if you've already read these ones, then do let me know all of your comments and thoughts about them. Thank you all so much for watching. It's an incredible series, and I cannot wait to hear all of your thoughts below. Bye! Me and you gonna have a little chat.